Call the meeting to order. Ask that you join us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you. Happy New Year to everybody, and thank you for joining us on a rather snowy day. Our crews to the outside have been active since 3 o'clock in the morning. I think they're going to make one more run and hope they get home. So they've had themselves a long day, but I think our roads are in pretty good shape. It's the state roads that may have some problems with them. Usually we have a number of announcements. You guys have all been here enough that you probably know them, so I think we can kind of skip those. We have a pretty long agenda. This is a dual meeting. It is the organizational meeting for the Board of Supervisors, which must be conducted on the first Monday of January, unless that's a holiday or maybe sometimes a snow day. And that's mandated by the state. Every municipality in the state of Pennsylvania should be having a meeting tonight. So the first part will go pretty quickly, but that will get ourselves reorganized, and then we will quickly get onto the agenda. I'm sure some of you have come some distance and are anxious to head back home. So for the organization meeting, the first thing we need to do, we typically elect a temporary chair, but with some research, we don't need to do that. So with the board's okay, we'll just proceed, and I'll act that part for the
I'll
beginning.
nominate Art Rutledge as chairman.
I'll second it.
I never even opened it for you. All right, so nominations are open for the chair of the board. I do have one nomination and a second for myself. Is there any other nomination? You won't hurt my feelings.
I mean, I could nominate you again if you wanted.
Is there a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
All right, and just to make it legal, we should vote. The vote would be to elect myself as chair for the next year. Questions? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 Aye, I'll vote too, so it's unanimous, 5 votes. So we have elected myself as chair. Nominations for vice chair would now be open.
I'll nominate Jeff Reynolds.
Second.
Any other nominations? All right, we'll close nominations and vote.
Aye.
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 So Jeff will carry on another year as the vice chair.
I think Jeff Rogers' New Year's resolution was to be faster at making motions. He's super due so far.
I just had to beat Dave out on a couple of these.
So we have some appointments. The first one would be for Wendy Brown as our recording secretary. Is she with us too, or
Yes.
on YouTube?
I'll make a motion to nominate.
I think we
Wendy?
can just vote on that without motions.
Oh, okay.
So, is that right, Todd?
So she's been appointed,
Wouldn't hurt.
duly appointed.
I would say that, let's just, to make it official, we should vote.
Yeah, who seconded that? Sorry.
Okay,
second.
okay, so we did have a nomination and or motion and a second. So I have a motion and a second. Questions before we vote? This would be for Wendy Brown as recording secretary. Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative, so Wendy will continue for another year. We have several resolutions. Resolution 2025-01 sets salaries for the following year for township employees. Any questions on any of these for a motion?
Go ahead, Dave.
Motion to approve resolution 2025-01.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2025-01, which sets salaries and certain benefits for the year 2025. No questions? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. Resolution 2025-01 is unanimously confirmed. Resolution 2025-02 is a number of appointments for qualified persons or firms to represent the township in conducting business through 2025. You have that list in front of you. Any questions?
Just a motion to approve resolution 2025-02.
Second.
Oh,
You can have it.
We have a resolution.
Just share the wealth.
Yeah, we'll get there in a minute. So we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2025-02. Questions? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative, resolution 2025-02 is approved. In case you're wondering out there, we have about 3 or 4 more of these to go through. Resolution 2025-03. This is appointing individuals to represent the township on boards, commissions, and committees and outside agencies for the year 2025. Are there any questions?
Yes. Zoning Hearing Board, it's Ralph Malone? Is
No,
it?
it's Ralph Perone.
Okay.
Art and I caught that this afternoon. That's been correct.
I didn't know if it was because we needed to do,
No.
which
no.
one we had to do.
Malone and Perone.
Well, I didn't know if it was Larry up or if it was
No,
Ralph.
it's Ralph.
Okay.
And you have a corrected copy, as well as talk a little bit, unless somebody wants to make a change. We left Paul's name is for the vacancy board chairman. I've talked to him recently, and he's still sharp
Oh,
in mind. I mean, he has trouble getting around, but he's sharp as he's ever been. Plus, the only time this comes into play is if somebody resigns and we can't agree on a replacement. So unless anybody really objects to that, I'd say we just leave his name there.
I'm fine with that then.
That's fine.
All right, so you have that in front of you. Any other questions? And I'll call for the vote.
May I make a motion, Chairman,
Yes, you may.
to
Wait a second.
approve resolution 2025-03?
I'll second it.
Thank you, and thank you for the second. Have a motion and a second. No further questions. Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 All right, 5 votes to the affirmative. We have approved resolution 2025-03. The next one is resolution 2025-04. This establishes the financial institutions that we will be dealing with in 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-04.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that we approve that resolution. Any questions? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. 2025-04 is approved. And I think I have a fee schedule here yet. Yes, 2025-05 is a resolution to establish certain fees for the year 2025. That's a pretty lengthy one. I think you can see a few changes in red where we just looked at some of the fees being charged and it just did not cover the effort we have to put into it. So Todd has made some adjustments. They're all pretty low price fees, $100 or something like that. But questions on any of those?
Nope, but I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2025-05.
I'll second it.
So 2025-05, we have a motion and a second. Questions? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. 2025-05 is approved. And I believe, Todd, that's the last of our organizational tasks, is it not?
That's correct. Yes.
So we will move into the normal meeting agenda. The first item would be approval of the minutes from our December meeting. Any questions or comments on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the December minutes. Questions before we vote? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 December meeting minutes are approved. Now we have the financial report for December. This is preliminary because there are always a few adjustments, so we'll see the final report, but we still want to approve this one, right?
Correct.
All right. Any questions or anything Todd wants to point out?
I just have one question. I always forget what the loan interest rate is
For the building,
for the building, yeah.
2.62.
2.62. Thanks.
Any other questions? Or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report. Questions before we vote? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 5 votes to the affirmative, the treasurer's report is approved. This would be the first opportunity for public comment. I don't believe that's what the group's here for, but is there anybody who wants to address the board at this time? All right, hearing none, we will move on to Resolution 2025-06. This is a signal permit to allow license plate readers, Todd.
Yeah, this is, Southern York County Regional Police Department, purchased, and they're going to be installing 3 license plate readers on 851 East Forest Avenue. One will be mounted on our traffic signal at the intersection with Mount Airy. The other 2 will be mounted on light poles, but because the traffic signal is permitted by PennDOT, in the name of the township, we need to apply just to get their blessings to mount those on the poles, so. It's no cost to the township. Southern Regional Police Department will be paying all the costs and paying for the cameras. We just need to go through the process to give them permission.
And this answers an issue the state police had when they were sort of begging us to pay for readers. So we got the readers and we didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Is this just for the one that's gonna be on our light, or where are the poles?
Just on the traffic signal.
This is on traffic.
Okay, and you said one is on, at Mount Airy, where are the other 2?
Yeah, the other 2,
One's down there by the water
yeah,
station.
one if you're coming, southbound, get off at 83, and you go turn right, head towards Shrewsbury Borough, it'll be there on the right. And then the other one is right in front of, looks like where the Audi will be,
Okay.
and that'll be facing.
And you said
to the
those
west.
will not be on lights, those will be on,
They'll be on street lights.
Street lights.
Which we don't need permits for.
okay.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve resolution 2025-6.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve 06. Questions, further questions before we vote? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Resolution 2025-06 is approved. The next item is an ordinance, if we so want to do anything with it, which would increase supervisors' compensation. The state passed legislation last year that would allow increases in what supervisors are compensated. Be the first increase since, I think it's about 1977, something like that, goes back into the 70s. So we can not do anything with this. We can approve it with any limit between the current cap of $2,500 and the new cap of $4,190 a year. I will tell you my personal opinion is I'm not so much in favor of it because I don't think we do this job for the money. I think we do it to try to make a positive difference in the township, but that's just one opinion, so I open it up to the rest of you.
If I could add
To
just
clarify,
a point of clarification, if the board takes any action tonight, it won't be to actually approve it, but to authorize an ordinance to
Yeah,
be
thank you,
advertised for next
thank
month.
you. And the other comment to note is no one sitting on the board currently can benefit from this until they're running or reelected.
yeah, that's what I was going to add because I was fairly confident I heard that last month.
Right, yeah.
This goes into effect on any new board members that are elected
New or reelected.
going from now.
Right, so the first person that could potentially be eligible would be Bob because you're up for election next year. Or anybody else that might run.
We'll have to appoint him chairman, make sure he gets his raise, we get some out of that raise.
I don't want to raise, I don't want that.
Does this have an ordinance number like 7/2025-7?
Well, we'd be
No.
approving to have him draft a resolution for
Oh,
next month,
gotcha.
I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah,
Okay.
that's why it does not have a number yet.
It has to be advertised first, and thank Todd for clarifying that. This would just allow it to be advertised if you so wish.
Well, I'd like, do I make a motion or just offer
Yep,
that
we
for
would need a
discussion?
motion and
Okay.
a second.
I
Yeah.
make a motion that the,
Yeah, I was gonna say, the motion should include, that you're gonna authorize an ordinance to be advertised for next month, to increase, and then you're gonna have to fill in the blank there.
right,
Current cap is $2,500 a year. The new cap is 4,190, so it can be that amount or any amount in
Any
between.
amount in
So
between.
that should be part of your motion as well.
Okay. Well, then my motion will be, based upon that today's cap of $2,500 that was passed back in 1972 means that we're probably getting the equivalent of $250. But I still think it's worthwhile to raise the cap, you know, for the future. So my motion is to authorize the township manager to develop a resolution to approve the supervisor's compensation.
You wanna, your motion would be to advertise.
Okay, to advertise, okay.
And then you need a number between
Right,
2,500 and 41,000.
right. So I'm recommending the new cap of $4,190, which would be paid quarterly in installments of $1,047.50.
Is there a second? And if there is no second, that motion will just die.
No second, no? Okay.
I'm not opposed to raising it, I'm just not entirely sure that we need to go all the way to the maximum amount. But
You guys want to negotiate?
that's just my thought.
What number do you like? Well, first of all, can you vote on it, but
Not
can you
without
have a
second.
cap, but then can you, no, but can you have a cap, but then later on decide, well, you only wanna make it like 3,500 or something like that, or do you have to
Well, the ordinance
Both
is gonna
the-
have to be specific.
specific,
So
okay,
let's say next month you adopted an ordinance for $3,000.
okay,
You can go back at any point in time and increase it up to that 4190.
okay, so the following year you could do that too,
Yeah,
or something?
but again, at
If-
any point in time that you increase it would only apply to anyone that's newly elected.
Okay,
No sitting board members.
well, I mean, myself, you know, I don't know if I would ever benefit from it, okay? I still got 4 years to go before I'd even be eligible, but I just think it's a responsible thing to put the compensation out there at a reasonable rate. That's my thought.
Well, that motion dies unless there's a second motion, we move on.
What do you think?
I was gonna be difficult and say 3250.
Well,
Well, here's what you should do. You're either gonna let it die,
No, yeah, no,
and
I
there could be
think
a new
it's
motion
dead.
made, or
Yeah.
someone can second it and do a vote, and understand if you second it, does not mean that you have
Yeah.
to vote in favor.
No, I got you.
well, it still has to be passed, right? You still need 3
Yes.
people to
Correct.
approve it, okay?
But I'm
so-
just saying, if someone's gonna propose a lower amount,
Oh,
we need to follow through. on
Right,
this.
because your
Right,
motion's dead,
right.
so it would take a new motion.
oh, can you do better than 3,200?
3250.
It's not like,
3250.
it's not like real money.
You wanna go 35?
Yeah, okay,
I make a motion then to authorize the manager to advertise resolution for next month in regards to supervisor compensation in the amount of $3,500 annually.
okay, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there questions? We'll call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
No?
No.
No.
Sorry, guys, but
It's fine.
for this meeting at least, that dies.
Doesn't hurt my feelings at all.
Okay. All right.
Do we need to say that we're gonna keep it at 25?
No.
Just not, okay.
All right, next we have some subdivision and land development, so I guess US Industrial is up first.
Second,
Good
here,
evening.
I'll get that up.
Yeah,
for you.
sure.
All right.
While he's pulling that up, I'm Josh Hoffman with Pinoni Associates, civil engineer representing the project, representative for U.S. Industrial Club 5 and Enterprises LLC, which is care of Hillwood. Jared Sowers is here with Hillwood this evening. Charlie Sir, his representation is here as well with me. There you go. So we're here this evening for representing the preliminary slash final subdivision land development plan for, referred to as Elm Drive property. We've been working with the township staff for several years now at this point. I know we were before you earlier this year, I think it was like April of, well, I say 2024, April of 2024. We were here before you to discuss waivers and get approval of waivers for this plan. Since that time, we've done a lot of work in pursuing. We've obtained our NPDS permit for the project. We've gone through and got our sewage planning approval for the project. We've worked very hard on the HOP for the intersection improvements out at 851. And I guess let me just flip to the plan here. So we're obviously here before you this evening for the plan itself and one additional waiver. But just I'll give you a little background. I don't think I went over the whole plan maybe the first time we were here, but this is our existing properties in this location, fronting on Elm Drive, which is traversing through here. 851 intersection with Elm Drive is right here in this location. So what we're doing is we're taking, there's two existing parcels of land there today. We're doing a subdivision. Flip to the next two sheets here. We're doing a subdivision, number one, as part of this plan to create this tract right here, kind of following the stream line, right in this location. All of that is about 61.5 acres, give or take. We're creating a development tract as basically a subdivision plan. And then flipping to the next sheet, which is the site plan itself. Same tract of land. This is for approximately 611,000 square feet of warehouse slash distribution center. What we have here, my pointer doesn't work on the screen. We have a single main point of access in this location here off of Elm Drive. This driveway has been designed to accommodate truck movements. Basically, we anticipate truck traffic coming from this 851 intersection. We are improving the length of that Elm Drive all the way from that intersection down and around to and just beyond our site to accommodate truck traffic. As you can imagine, that street's not able to accommodate that today. So as part of this plan, we're proposing the roadway improvements along Elm Drive, which I know we discussed earlier in 2024. So that's our access point. We have a variety of stormwater basins along the site's perimeter here, here, and here. This facility is set up to be a cross-docked, multi-tenant facility. What that really means is we have docks, truck docks on both sides of the facility in this location. And it could be set up for an employee parking lot with a tenant on this side of the building and then also for one on this side of the building. Or the building may be occupied by one tenant that uses both parking lots. That's to be determined at this point. So that's kind of an overview of the site, and obviously Interstate 83, and didn't mention, is right in this location. So we're here before you this evening. Like I gave you an update with the, we don't have the HOP yet. We understand that that's a condition of this plan being approved, that we would get the HOP for the intersection improvements. We're very close to that. I believe pretty much all of the technical stuff has been addressed at this point. There's just a lot of administrative items right away and things of that nature that need to progress there. And then ultimately, we've provided financial security estimates and things of that nature to the township. The township, Jeff Shue has reviewed our items. We were before your planning commission in the month of December. And we're basically down to a couple of administrative items now with the plan itself. And ultimately, we are asking for one additional waiver this evening. Originally, we submitted this as a preliminary plan. We were going to go the preliminary plan followed by a final plan. Given the length of time that it's taken and we've done all the improvements and the design of those improvements, we are now requesting that this be a preliminary slash final plan. So we're requesting an additional waiver, which is section 22-403. Just basically the requirement to submit a separate preliminary plan. And ultimately that's everything that I have, and be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
I guess, Todd, I have a concern on two notes. And this is the first time I've read, had something big enough to be able to read those notes. But I don't recall us agreeing to the language regarding curbs and sidewalks that is in there. I know there was talk back and forth about language. You were going to present some language. We looked at it. I never saw this language, and I don't believe that's language that's acceptable to this board. Am I confused on that at all? It has us being responsible should there need to be curbs, being responsible for permits, and there's no way that we should be responsible for anything in my mind, or that we should be pretty narrowly constricted should we see the need for curbs or sidewalks. And I'm putting both of these together because they both kind of say the same thing. So it's far from our standard language, and I believe too restrictive. I'm going up here so I can read them better.
Art had inquired about that earlier today, and I did pull what our standard language is. I thought I had emailed that, but I didn't go back through my emails. It's been a long time since we talked about that. But this is our standard language, which the board places on all plans when they waive the curb and sidewalk. It simply says, upon notice by Shrewsbury Township to the landowner of record of any lot in this subdivision or land development that sidewalks and or curbs must be installed, the owner shall have 6 months from the date of such notice to install said sidewalks and or curbs at the owner's expense. The obligation to construct sidewalk and or curbs shall be governed by the Shrewsbury Township subdivision land development ordinance.
And that's what we've required in any plan that's been before us for years now. So I don't see why we would make an exception to that here. This basically says that we would be responsible for stormwater management controls, any third-party approvals needed, including but not limited to any permitting, blah, blah, blah. I can't accept that. That's not, I can't speak for the rest of the board, but that language is not acceptable to me, nor is it acceptable that in the sidewalks as well. I know we did talk about in a bus stop in lieu of sidewalk that hopefully would work, but I don't think we had as much language that's in here, and I don't know why we should give that up, quite frankly.
Where are you seeing that, Art?
Sorry, right here.
That looks similar to what you read, though, unless I'm misreading it.
No,
The board shall notify property owner who shall within 6 months receipt of notice install curbing.
This goes into a lot more conditions than our standard.
Okay.
Yeah, because under any other subdivision land development plan, if someone has to put in curb and sidewalk, that's all the expense of the property owner or developer.
I know, but
And what Art is saying here when you read this, township shall be responsible for stormwater management controls, any third-party approvals needed, including but not limited to any NPDES permit.
And I
sorry,
got a
I did
problem
not
with
read
that.
far enough. I was referring to the middle sentence.
I got a problem with that as well.
Yeah.
And likewise, when you go down to the sidewalks, it's, again, it just has more restrictions than I think we should accept. I think we've said all along, it's no secret that this is not a good project as far as this board is concerned. However, we've also said that we're not going to fight it because you are allowed to do it, but that we're going to make sure we got the very best warehouse we could get. And these two things are part of that very best. So I would not vote to approve the plan unless those two notes are changed.
And now, the only thing I was gonna say is, like, I know we were here April of 2024 to get those first, whatever they are, 8 waivers, and I thought that was the language that we had.
No, there was never any
Because we didn't
language.
change anything there as part of what we're doing now. We were asking for the additional waiver below, but we didn't change anything.
I never saw these two. What I saw was you didn't like our standard, and somebody was gonna go back and present something back to the board.
Okay.
I never saw that presented back until looking at this here today. And whether I missed it or not doesn't matter, I still don't see this being acceptable to us.
You just found out earlier.
Well, no, all I'm saying is like those have been on the plan for the last 9 months, like, and those waivers were what we were here before, because in order to design the roadway improvements,
We
that's
never
what we.
approved the waivers on curb or sidewalk because you didn't like our language. And you were gonna put together some additional language, and I never saw that language come back to us. And I know I asked about it some months beyond that, and we have not received anything. Todd and I have discussed that a couple times.
Yeah, I guess the question is Hillwood object to this language that we use in our standard plans? And if so, I guess I'm gonna ask why.
Well, I mean, I guess, in my practice, why we would be adding, like, it has to be a purpose, right? To add, like, the discretion would be like, you know what, sidewalks would be nice there, but where there's not a lot of foot traffic. And my only concern would be, you're talking about an NPDS permit to add curbs and sidewalks. And I know that's not your concern, but it's not just adding sidewalks, you know, I mean, you're changing the whole stormwater design of sheet flow off the road into a swale, and now adding inlets, catch basins, and a detention basin. It's a major project. So it would have to be for like, it'd have to serve a purpose other than, you know,
But the thing is, I think that's hard to measure right now. 'Cause
Right.
we don't know. I'll give you an example. And the reason the board had started doing this is because they were waived down in the commercial area, because no one thought it was ever gonna go any further. So it got waived, and now there's a desperate need, 20 years later for curb and sidewalk.
It's interesting, I noticed driving back from Ocean City earlier this week, where there are huge developments, some are commercial, some are homes, and for a mile or two, you'll have a sidewalk that is on the perimeter of that property, and there's nothing happening on it. But, so we're not requiring that. We could, we've thought about doing that, and there are some board members that think we should. So what we've said is, all right, we're okay now because we don't see the need for it today. But if there is a need in the future, then we don't want the township to have to incur that cost. So we're saying that cost goes to the developer. I'm not willing to give that up. Why should we?
I would have to agree with Art, and sitting here, I can't remember any issue or any situation that's come up where we said that the township would accept the responsibility for somebody else's land management and water management.
Yeah, I will say though, we've designed that entire length of Elm Drive as part of this plan. As you guys have seen the design of the roadway. It's all being designed with roadside swales, stormwater management, so to throw in like curbs and you'd completely rip up the entire, it'd be a completely different design for the roadway itself.
Well,
We've tried to limit, the width of the roadway because of parking along the road and to accommodate truck movements, but the way that the road is designed right now with the width and the overlay and everything that we're doing, it has a very specific design to it. It'd be a completely different scenario if you put in curbs, and that's just the way that it would be.
Well, we could have required those curbs from the beginning,
that's what I was gonna
but we
say.
thought there was reason
Well, I
not
mean,
to.
Yeah,
But-
I know we met with you guys.
But we can't see a crystal ball as to what might happen next
Yeah.
year or the year after that. Something could entirely change, because there's still a lot of land left in that area. So we want that option. We can't come and just say, oh, well, we think we'd like that. There'd have to be some reasoning for it, and I think this even says that, shall be governed by our subdivision land development ordinance, so there'd have to be a reason why we would do it. And my guess is that's pretty slight that we would do it, but why would we give up
Yeah, I mean,
that right?
I don't think we've ever gone back at this point to force anyone to do sidewalks.
Not at this point in time.
But seeing what was failed to be done 20, 30 years
Yeah.
ago is a problem, and we're trying to find grants from the state in order to put sidewalks in that area.
Right, not this area, but another
Yeah,
area.
the area from before. Walmart, et cetera.
So,
You look at it
we've said
today-
from the very beginning that we're not ever gonna risk any township money going into the development of the warehouses. And while the risk is slight, why take any?
Art, I agree with your point. My hesitation is just through experience. You have someone that comes in a township situation and said, you know what, we need to be able to advertise that we have X amount of linear feet of sidewalks. That's a great initiative, right? And it's nothing about safety, it's side work that would be added and never even utilized if nothing were to change. But the board may change, the perspective of the township may change, and somebody's like, yeah, force those guys to add a mile of sidewalk. That's great. We can advertise on our website that we have X amount of linear feet of sidewalk. That's a green, that's a real green initiative. And that's my only hesitation. If it were a safety thing, or if it was a stormwater thing, if it was necessary, I just would love to have it be based on a public safety study, or based on a meaningful initiative that says sidewalks would really be beneficial there. I think that makes total sense to me. It seems like it could literally be next week, someone just has a change of heart and says, add sidewalks there. And that's, I think, the challenge of it, from my perspective, that it's not driven by public safety, not driven by a standard or a measurable benefit to the township. It's kind of depending on which way the wind's blowing. That's my only struggle.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Because I've seen it before. It's very marketable right now to advertise how many linear feet of walkable space you have in a township. And if it's walkable space past an industrial building to a farm, nobody's ever gonna utilize that. To just spend $1 million to redesign a road and add sidewalks,
But no-
I'd rather build a park in that
But none of us
circumstance.
know what's gonna happen to the rest of that land next year or 5 years from now. We don't know. You're not using all of the land in that Elm Drive corridor, so to speak. But, I mean, we have in here the obligation to construct it shall be governed by the subdivision land development ordinance. There has to be some protection in that, because it isn't meant that it would just be, as you said, like, oh yeah, we could use some sidewalk there.
I guess I gotta go back, I'm really puzzled. Why would someone market that they have X amount of sidewalks in a commercial or industrial?
Because it's more of, I don't wanna sound a certain way, but it's to say we have X amount of walking paths in our township, like, we're very walkable. It's very marketable with all the green initiatives to say, we're very walkable. I've had it happen to me. And I
We have
said,
parks
that's
for
great.
that.
If you can walk from a neighborhood to a park, that should absolutely be there. But it's not like you're gonna have joggers on this. I mean, everybody who's driven that would say, you would never wanna walk up that hill, down that hill, or run up that hill, down that hill, like, but if it were
I don't
to
know if
change.
I don't know if it'll put your mind at ease, and again, this could change with any board that comes along. But the township has an official map. I don't know if you're familiar with those. The official map identifies existing, like recreation, resources, natural resources, things like that. And then they also identify, future park areas and walking trails and paths and whatever. And we have a pretty extensive official map, shows actually walking paths and whatever extending over into that area. But I can tell you, and you can look online, it's online, it doesn't even go on Elm Drive. Because we don't want people, even in those walking paths, purpose is to get them out in the nature,
Yeah.
not along a busy highway. It's not, at least in the eyes of the township, that is not, what we think is good use of that property.
Todd, am I not corrected, and just to kind of help put this to bed? At any time that we would elect to feel that we would want sidewalks somewhere, that it would always be our option to put the cost for that sidewalk on the property owner.
I believe it is under the Pennsylvania
Right,
second
under
class township
Pennsylvania.
code, yeah.
So for example, just to give you an example, for 2 or 3 years now, we've applied for funding to try to get sidewalks up the 851 corridor from Interstate 83 to get up into the Shrewsbury Commons where the Walmart and all that is. We've done that even jointly with other municipalities. We have not been successful in doing that. We could go to Shrewsbury Commons and say, you've got to pay to put sidewalks in along all your property. But we don't really think that's the right thing to do, so we're not planning on doing that. However, if we got a grant and it wasn't enough, we would probably go to them and seek it voluntarily rather than try to force it. But what I'm trying to say is we could do what we wanted to do with sidewalks there and make you pay for it anyway, under Pennsylvania law today. So does it make any difference if this is what's in there, because we have that right anyhow?
I think the other concern is with curbing too, which I don't think you have the same rights as sidewalks.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I don't know
Curbing is
that.
different, and I think curbing is a big deal with the stormwater for the road. And I think maybe to kind of move it on here, if there could be this note, especially with the curbing, either, as they say, based upon a study or based upon there's usually some public need coming in there, there's some basis coming in there. Again, I don't think the sidewalk is the biggest issue as the curbing, because that's gonna have a bigger effect for the road design.
They can be creative with sidewalk. Curbing is gonna have to meet, road
Yeah.
specs where you are changing all
It's a
stormwater.
stormwater, yeah, stormwater
From
is huge on
inlets
that.
to where it's going, that would be the bigger
The
impact.
sidewalks could be a path, impervious, it could be a permeable path
That's
to
true.
do that, so the curbing is the bigger problem, and that's not included in the normal second-class township rights that we can just have landowners keep. So if we could come up with some in-between things specifically related to curbing, so it doesn't end up, a board 10 years from now, willy-nilly says, we want curbs on here, we don't care. That's what your note says, because the problem is that these guys are gonna have that, the investors, they review all this stuff, and that's a liability that they have to account for.
Because it would be a total redesign of the road,
Right.
to your point.
Well, and the curb's really for our half of the road, so if you'd be, be putting
Presumably
in
the other
curb,
house would be behind
it'd
us.
be a completely
You're gonna have the same
different,
discussion.
right?
With the way the stormwater management is currently being developed, it doesn't make sense for us to disrupt that at that point, years down the road.
As long as it's working.
Agreed.
Is that,
And I would rather see the water come off the roadway, and naturally go into those areas anyway, personally.
that stormwater plan has been reviewed by Davidson?
Yeah, it's designed to sheet off the roadway, not.
And if we're doing this later, would they also be responsible to redesign the stormwater management along the road, wherever the curb's gonna take it? Cause I'm not sure that's right either.
Yeah.
I'd be,
That's the net effect, I think.
yeah, I'd be willing to stick to our guns on the sidewalk, but I'm not sure the curbing's necessary.
No, that's a good point.
Just because, like they're saying, it would change the entire design for the stormwater that they have on site, and potentially send it somewhere else and impact somewhere, further down the road or wherever.
And it's not like we're deferring any road improvements. We're spending millions of dollars to
Yeah.
improve that road.
Exactly.
To then maybe have to go back and, take it from a crown road to it would be a total, all the elevations would change to create water to be designed to go where the inlets are, and then create a detention basin
Yeah.
for where that is on site somewhere. So it just becomes a domino effect.
Yeah.
I don't know that there'd honestly be benefit to, but
Yeah.
sidewalks, I totally understand that.
Because if they are responsible for everything at that point, they'd have to redo the road, redo everything, which is
Yeah,
unfeasible.
I
would
doubt
think.
that we could hold them responsible for that.
No.
Todd, your thoughts?
I'm not sure about the second class township code about curb, I don't remember seeing that, I know sidewalk is in there. I guess the only thing with the curb, if you change that paragraph, that language to talk about, a safety study or what have you, you still need to consider who's gonna have that expense for permitting and everything else, whether the township will narrow that or not, cause that's still in there.
But we've approved the stormwater plan. Well, or we may
Right,
later
but I
tonight.
guess what they're saying is that would probably change the stormwater.
I think the suggestion would be just to take out the words and or curbs. Keep the note as is as to sidewalks, that you have the right to come in and put a sign and put no restrictions on it. Try to come in here, but the waivers come in based on the installation of curbs, based upon the approved stormwater case.
All right.
I'd be comfortable with that.
The verbiage that's in, that extra sentence in the end would go away.
So we'd be removing the last sentence on sidewalks. Wait, hold on. Nope, I'm in the wrong one. Curbs is first, sidewalks is second.
The first one. Yeah, no, it's the first. The first one, you'd be removing the sentence that you're referring to. That's the,
Here, I'm gonna, this right here, starting here,
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's in regard to curbs.
right.
But we need our verbiage
We would
on
add
the
in,
sidewalk side.
right, we would add in the note,
Yeah,
scratching out and or curbs from this block, stick that in there.
For the
Yes.
sidewalks.
and then where are we on the permit for curbs?
It seems like
Didn't he say
I
strike
guess
out
if-
that last sentence?
There are no curbs. The whole.
if we're approving this and we,
Which includes
Yeah.
permits.
seems like it would be hard for us to put any of that money for curbs based on this, the stormwater design.
I guess what I see going back and forth is, you know, we're asking you to trust us, you're asking us to trust you. But in the scheme of things from economics, we don't have any money, you know, to make any type of improvement. I mean, you know, as a government entity here, you know, we rely on tax receipts. And, you know, we just can't take the risk of having to fund this, you know, and put something in writing that you don't cover it. So I think it's still back to someone's gotta trust the other person more, so,
It's a hard ask on both sides.
yeah.
If we were to look at the future, what reason would we come up with where we would need curbs on that road?
Well, the three that are listed here are, if we determine that curbings need to control stormwater, prevent erosion, and prevent deterioration of Elm Drive, they're the three reasons. Which are listed here, and the only,
And they have already been accounted for in the stormwater plan that
and
you
the
developed.
only three reasons.
It's not only dealing with stormwater from your site, it's dealing with stormwater from the roadway as well, correct?
right.
And they would be the only reasons, we couldn't do it on a whim.
Yeah.
It would have to be because of one of these three things.
I think you'd have the right to do, 'cause that would mean our stormwater plan is failing.
Yeah.
And if it's failing, then you have the right, regardless of this note, to come up with a correction.
It'd probably be another remedy, but
Yeah, the correction would be something else, but
it'd
it's
be like a
certainly.
rip wrap, you know, I mean, like it would, we'd have to come up with
Yeah.
a creative solution.
All right, so are you okay with us removing the verbiage that says, the last line, the last sentence, that says the township is specifically responsible for that? Then it's up for debate as far as, you know, who would be having to fund that project?
I think that makes sense. Now, what we're saying now is if there's a failure of the stormwater based on the road, we gotta take care of it.
Yeah,
We're responsible for it, which is, I think, the whole approval anyway.
all right.
If
Then,
it
then,
fails, yes.
then if we can move forward and get rid of the last line under curbs and add a note that says we're gonna use our typical township verbiage for sidewalks, but sidewalks alone, not and curbs. I'd be willing to move forward with that aspect of the plan.
As the next note deals with sidewalk, just, I mean, I don't wanna confuse things. If you look at that, there's another paragraph right below that. Are you okay with that?
Well-
Might as well read that one too.
No, Oh, no.
We just lost it here for a minute.
There it is.
Yeah, second one.
I think that one probably raised more eyebrows than the curbs, because that gets into about, 1,000 feet, and people walking and not walking, and with the rabbit transit.
And I think that's the main reason we're thinking about sidewalks in the future. I'm still not 100% sure why they built it in the middle of the field, but at some point, if rapid transit's getting more activity from your site or from a neighboring site, et cetera, we may have more traffic, and it's not going to be safe for them to be on the roads. So that's the only reason I would foresee needing sidewalks at some point in the future. But again, I would rather see the water coming off the roadway and into the grassy areas instead of installing curbs.
So we would keep that one, 'cause I think that was dealing with a separate situation, and then we would add in the note, standard note is modified. Yeah,
Would that satisfy staff? Or do you still feel uncomfortable with the restrictions that are put?
I'm not sure why we need what's there if it's replaced with our standard.
well, I think that's, I think it's good to put in there, because we had discussions with the transit people, so everyone's on board that we know that, and they're trying to encourage the transit to stop there. If that happens, then we're responsible for that specific thing.
Weren't you going to have a stop up on, the top of your property for the rabbit transit to actually, dock and
That's what
pick
we
up
did.
people? I thought we talked about that.
We've incorporated into our design, they have to get the ridership in order to, like, we can't force them to add a stop.
Right,
We can give them the facilities and then
okay.
encourage the ridership.
So that's still part of your plan?
Yeah, I guess you could leave that in, because that addresses specifically their warehouse utilizing and accessing the rabbit transit lot.
Yeah.
So that sidewalk may be warranted one day, but not along the entire property, which the other note would cover.
All right. Well, that was exciting. What was the other waiver you guys had?
So this evening, the separate waiver of the preliminary plan, we're requesting this to be a preliminary final plan.
Yeah, that's not a,
And we're on board with that one.
that's right.
All right.
So now, so let's come back to, I'm not sure where we are now.
I'd be willing to take a stab at it, maybe put it in a motion.
Why don't you do the modification request first, if you would, please?
I would love to. And the modification request being the verbiage, correct?
No, that's.
Modification request being the preliminary final.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the, what was my word?
You're just looking,
The modification request, conditional upon the C.S. Davidson letter dated, no?
I'm sorry.
What are you doing to me?
All you
There's two
wanna
things.
do on
There's
this-
two. There's the modification request where they're requesting a waiver to
For
do a
for the preliminary
and the
final. Yes.
And that's all the modification is.
Just by itself.
They want that waiver for the preliminary, and they're gonna submit a preliminary/final.
Got it.
That's all we gotta do first.
And then we'll get into C.S. Davidson
Yep.
and the
The
verbiage.
second part, yeah.
All right. Make a motion to approve modification request for the preliminary, combining the preliminary and final subdivision plan.
Second.
all right.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second, which will treat this as both the preliminary and the final plan. Questions before we vote? She'll vote.
Aye.
I'm still a little confused, but I'll go with aye.
Yeah, well, all we're doing is saying, at this point in time, this plan was initially presented as, going to be presented as a preliminary plan, which means it would have to come back for final improvement.
Okay,
But since a lot has been done in the meantime, they're asking that we treat this as a preliminary and final. Pretty common for that to happen, pretty common to approve it.
okay,
So you're still saying an aye?
I'll go with an aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
5 votes to the affirmative, so we will treat this as a preliminary and final. That piece is done.
And those paragraphs are changed.
Well, now we're
No,
looking
that
at
would be the
separate.
next
Oh,
part.
okay,
That'd be the next
that's where I
part.
was confused.
Yeah, that's under the approval of the
Did-
preliminary final.
Did you
plan.
want to talk through this one first, Art?
Yeah, I assume that we're going to, that we might agree to live with what they have on curbs.
Minus the last line, which is going to 100% put us on the hook for any permits, et cetera.
This section, right, this paragraph, sentence
The
should say.
first note, the last
If I
line of
understood
the
correctly,
first
you're in
note.
What's
agreement
highlighted.
with that.
What's highlighted, so it's actually the next to
And it
last
actually
line.
goes down.
Yeah,
here.
yeah, it's the last sentence. It's the last two lines.
That is a
if you
comma,
will.
you're right. I didn't hear if that was acceptable to them.
Yeah, we just delete
Yeah.
that last
Okay.
sentence.
Yep.
Okay,
And then we keep the paragraph about the double star note about the sidewalk, specifically in regards to rapid transit use, if that's deemed necessary. And then we would be adding our verbiage minus the and curbs to the plan to account for sidewalks on the rest of the property, if needed.
is that,
Yeah, that works.
okay. All right, now if you can put that in the form of a motion.
I would love to. Or I could just say so moved and make somebody else do it, but no, I'll do it. Conditional upon C.S. Davidson?
Yes.
Yes, all right.
And
and-
the road maintenance slash developers agreement, which I think is a condition.
Yeah, I think that's in his letter,
On
yeah.
on the letter, so.
Which is
That's on the
covered.
letter, yeah.
Well, that's lovely news. All right. So make a motion to approve this isn't the waiver.
No, this is the preliminary final land development plan.
Oh, thank you very much. Motion to approve the final land development plan for the Elm Drive property warehouse, as long as the following conditions have been met. First of all, that any conditions on the C.S. Davidson letter dated December 13th, 2024 have been satisfied, and provided that the verbiage around curbs and sidewalks reflects removing the last sentence under star note 1, leaving double star note 2 intact, and adding our standard sidewalk verbiage to the plan excluding curbs.
Is that as you understand it?
Yeah, I think the letter to C.S. Davidson is December 10th.
Yeah.
You said
Mine has a typo then. Mine definitely says the 13th.
Mine says the 10th.
Then let's just
You have
backdate that to
Shrewsbury
the 10th.
Industrial.
I have,
Mine says the 13th.
Mine says the 13th.
I feel like the later the date, probably the better, but
Yeah, that's the wrong letter.
that's the
Did
next line.
Megan,
Probably-
Megan may have mistakenly attached to a different one.
Hold
Look
on.
at your next set.
industrial curbing.
Yeah, this is the McClellan property, Shrewsbury Commons,
Well, that's exciting. Hey, December 10th.
December 10th.
Well, there we have it,
And
folks.
that's, Zone Drive.
You're right, that is the wrong track.
Okay. December 10th. Please don't make me restate it. Outstanding. We were able to adjust the date.
Just use whiteout.
All right, I hate to say this, but are there questions from anybody? Questions from anybody there? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion.
All we need
and
now is a vote.
We have a motion and a second that would approve the preliminary final plan and the changes to the last two waivers as we discussed.
So this would be the final plan then, is that right?
Yes,
As long as it meets C.S. Davidson, December 10th,
right, that was part of your motion, right?
and the verbiage change that we have thoroughly discussed this evening.
Questions before we vote? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
No.
Aye.
4 votes to the affirmative, 1 negative, so this passes. And I guess you can go back to work.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. Did you ever, just a question, In constructing this, have you ever thought about constructing it so the roof would be strong enough to accommodate solar?
So we actually, all of our buildings are designed to be solar ready, so
Because that could be a moneymaker.
it's, I think in the future it will be.
Right.
There's always-
Well, that's why I was asking. It
Yeah.
might not be today, but
Yeah,
we're
so
actually looking at maybe even doing some ordinance modification that would require that to large buildings, just because you can, I'd rather see solar on that roof than
In a field somewhere.
In a field
Yeah.
somewhere, which we don't allow it in the ag district.
I'll tell you that it's much more, economical to do it on the roof than it is to have the infrastructure on the ground. It's much more expensive, just kind of.
Okay,
Yeah, because we
Huh?
looked at both.
okay. But at least if it's strong enough, it gives the option.
It'll be designed and it'll have the load for that, so that's our building standard,
Okay,
to be ready.
well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, so the next one on the agenda is the US Industrial Elm Drive property. You already know what all the questions are.
Yeah, yep,
Because you
Yeah.
pretty much mimicked their
exactly. Right.
notes, I think.
Yep, yeah.
So,
I think,
They're all running away, they're not staying here to support you.
It's not snowing, so don't worry about it.
so now we'll see how well you were listening.
all right, well.
Go ahead, I'll let you go. I'm
Okay,
sorry,
yeah,
I should have
appreciate it,
interrupted.
yeah. All right, well, so Adam Anderson, Site Design Concepts, I'm representing the final land development plan for Shrewsbury Industrial LLC. So yes, I was paying attention. So we do, when you guys have seen this before, we were here April 3rd for the waiver request. You want me to go through the plan a little bit, or do you just want to get into the meat and potatoes, like get across the finish line here?
Could you just do a quick run through
Yep,
the
yep.
plan, that's all?
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so.
You don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but
Gotcha, okay, yep, so there are two parcels, the property's located at 15101 Elm Drive. Total area is about 55.5 acres, located along Elm Drive and East Forest Avenue. You pulling enough time?
Yeah, I apologize, it's not coming up, but I
Okay.
don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't open for me.
see, even the system's against you.
Yeah, right. Shutting down for the evening. Well, so it's a 550,000 square foot industrial building. We have two access drives on Elm Drive. We're right across the street from the Hillwood development. We have our MPDS permit, planning module. The agreement is with the Hillwood folks and with the township for the improvements to Elm Drive. So that one of the conditions is that either bond is posted for Elm Drive or it's going to be constructed before we start construction on our side of it. Public water, public sewer, have the EDUs. And kind of the same setup where we have double loading and have the ability to have two different users potentially, with the size of this building, probably just one user. And I was paying attention to the 6-month note, unless you have questions on the plan itself.
Any questions on the plan itself? Nope.
Yeah. Okay, also, no waivers, no additional waivers than what the board has already approved, so we're square there. So, listening to the conversation, and actually I went back to my notes here from April 3rd. We had agreed to a 6-month note with agreeable language, and apparently there's some coordination that needed to happen for us to get that on the plan. So, if the board's okay with it, we'd like to go with what was just discussed this evening and add that to our plan. Does that
Yeah, I think
work
so.
for you guys?
Are we able to pull up what's currently there, or is it the same as what was
It's
on
the
the other?
same.
It's the same.
All right.
Yeah, Todd and I looked at that before.
I don't think we need to relitigate it.
No,
I'm okay with that.
And I'm perfectly fine with saying it's the motion that I made 5 minutes ago. If we're able to.
Other than our letter,
ditto.
the 13th.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Just for Industrial LLC instead of the last lovely group of people.
Yep, and C.S. Davidson letter, the 13th.
Yes, I knew the 13th was was in there
You're
somewhere.
right.
I was just looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, switched it. No problem.
any questions? just out of curiosity, is yours strong enough to put solar on the roof?
You know what? I can't speak to that. I'm the civil engineer. I'm not the architect on
Okay,
it.
I was
I wish
just,
I could answer that.
that's no problem, I was just curious.
Yeah.
We can't require that, but it's just something nice to, before you put shovels in the ground, to
Yep.
think about.
Yeah,
'Cause it does, just don't know what the future,
Mhm.
might
Yeah.
have to rely on that one day. We might not have that much other electricity.
And you know what? We, at Site Design, we've done 3 big solar fields, 600 acres of cornfield, just what, I mean, the amount of grading and tree clearing, I don't see how it makes sense.
Awful.
And it's still a big question about what you do with all of it once it's,
Yeah, they say they're gonna
Shelf
take it out.
life.
Yeah, they're gonna pull all those wires out, pull all the
Of
pilings
course
out.
they are.
Yeah, right.
In 50 years.
but we do not allow it in the ag district, which is, that's where the big land is, other than we allow it in, I think, commercial, industrial, and interchange.
Correct.
It's the 3 areas we allow it. So, but anyway, that's off to the side.
So,
So
is
you're
is
looking
your plan
basically-
also looking to have a preliminary and final combination?
Yeah,
They're here for final.
right.
Oh, they've already done the prelim.
Well, actually, we had asked for a waiver of that originally.
Right.
Because at the time, Kinsley owned the land, so they were ready to go, where these folks had it under
Yeah,
contract.
they had already asked, so that waiver's been granted
All right.
already.
So we're just looking for the final land development plan approval pending the verbiage on curbing and sidewalks.
Yep.
And the CSD.
And the CH.
And thank you, dated the 13th.
CSD.
I was paying attention.
So we take that as a motion?
Almost. I was just clarifying before I actually make my motion. But I'd make a motion to approve the final land development plan for Shrewsbury Industrial LLC Elm Drive Property Warehouse. Provided that the C.S. Davidson letter dated December 13th, 2024 has been satisfied and that the verbiage reflects what we so eloquently litigated for the U.S. Industrial Club Enterprises LLC about 5 minutes ago.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Now, again, maybe I have the wrong one. I have a C.S. Davidson letter dated December 10th attached to this.
I think
Yeah,
we
that's
switched them. We either switched them
Okay.
or we didn't read the top.
Okay,
Megan mistakenly flipped.
okay,
she-
so
she
he's
put 'em
got
in the
the
wrong
right,
packet.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And you second, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion before we vote? So we'd be voting on approving the final plan as well as
Pending
the
the curbing and sidewalk language,
language
yes.
on the curbing and sidewalk note,
And satisfying the
C.S. Davidson.
12/13/24.
Okay. Call for the vote?
Aye.
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 Nay.
Aye.
So we have 4 votes to the affirmative, 1 negative, so it is approved.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. So next on our agenda, we just have a series of reports. We have the manager's report. Todd, anything you want to add or emphasize? Or?
Just to note that, we applied for $8,900 through York County Open Space Program, as a 50% match for, to develop a master plan for Miller Park, once we acquire the additional 13.5 acres. We were awarded $8,800. The Windy Hill Park, grant for $40,000, that one was not awarded. And again, that was through the York County Marcellus Shale. But if you look, they only awarded, I think it was 3 projects under the Marcellus
Yeah.
Shale, so it's.
And that won't stop us from proceeding. We still have the
No, we still have that
$220,000
$220,000
grant, so we will still proceed with the pavilion at Windy Hill.
Other than that, I think that is it. I did, I guess you saw that we were successful in getting the payment in full, $11,760.39, from the settlement company that handled the
Yeah.
transfer of real estate for 12252 Railview Court.
That's good. I thought that would drag out,
I did too.
and it didn't, so that's good. Any other questions for
Heard
Todd?
anything from the millers?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not, no. We'll talk about that a little bit when we get down through here, but.
Okay. We have the codes enforcement and so forth. Todd, anything you want to highlight on that, or?
No, I think everything's pretty self-explanatory. I guess the only thing I won't mention, it's probably like the 4th page in, which is a sheet that looks similar to this. Talks about, with the deadlines, quite a few of those are closed. As you know, we're in a transition between Cliff Tinsley and Keith, so I'm getting together with Megan and Cliff on Wednesday, and we're gonna go through these. Some of these are gonna be closed. They've been closed for a while.
Just updated.
Just didn't get done in the system, so.
Okay.
And anything that you see as far as a violation number, if you look like at the top page there, it says animals, subsection 2, it says open, and then it has a number there, 24. That's the year, and then of course that's a violation number that follows. Any that you see a V for violation in front of that number, they're the ones that are starting with Keith now. Ones without, we're under Cliff.
What's the prefix?
V
Oh, B, Victor.
violation, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Just in case you're wondering why some have a V in front and some do not, so.
And it was interesting to note that the gentleman that had done violated the CEA off of 83 is now up to $22,500 in fines.
That's the one right there off of Windy Hill.
Yes.
And that's because he's not putting it back to the way it was?
Yeah. And it's-
Yeah, he's been.
Is that in
He's
litigation?
been slowly working at it, but it should have been done. Frankly, the township has been very amenable to trying to work with him to get that resolved. And, you know, we had this last hearing, and all he had to do, he had a month to do it, is seed it and stabilize it with straw or something like that. Did not happen. Had that happened, we'd have gone to court, and that would have been satisfied, and the judge, we would have either withdrew that particular complaint, not all of them, but, or else she would have reduced the fine amount. The reason she issued the 12,000 is he did not even show up at court. He didn't even appear. So when you don't appear, it's a default judgment
Yeah.
for the full amount.
Which happens quite frequently, and
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
for quite substantial amounts of money. Where it would be so inexpensive to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Are they building a home? Were they just redesigning the bank?
No,
What's
What
the
I
motivation?
understand happened, according to the property owner, he's a younger gentleman. That property kinda didn't really have anything flat behind it. It had a little bit of a slope, so he wanted some fill ground to level that off outside of the CEA. And he got fill ground from the Royal Farms site,
Oh dear.
that developer. And they apparently delivered when he was at work, and they brought truckload upon truckload upon truckload. And then when he got home, it was just like, wow,
That's a lot of dirt.
yeah. So, but, you know, this has been going on over 2 years. We have been more than accommodating to try to give him the opportunity to make it right.
Okay.
Okay,
I don't know what else to do.
of the maintenance department list, I don't think there's anything unusual.
No, December with the holidays and vacations mixed in there, maintenance and engineering were pretty slow.
And then you have the CS Davidson report. I don't think too much changed on that. Nothing's in red, but
No.
I don't think hardly anything changed there. Have the agenda from the Recreation Commission. They got, I guess, an interesting thing, the story of Hex Hollow and Pennsylvania Dutch powwowing.
That's coming up about 2 weeks,
And that's here.
right here.
That's here.
Yep,
Yep,
right
that's
January
here and
22nd.
free.
Well,
Nelson
see,
Ray Brown.
this agenda, we never had this meeting. It got
Okay, I missed that elf hunt too.
Oh, is that right? So that meeting was,
This meeting had gotten canceled
oh, okay. You know what, I remember seeing that now, you're right.
because it didn't have a quorum.
That's right, I remember seeing that.
No wonder I didn't go to the elk hunt.
Where'd you see us about elk hunt?
That elk hunt.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
I missed it.
So I do,
It says elf, not elk.
ELL.
It says elf.
so I see that, she's trying a pretty ambitious sponsorship program here.
Yeah, I noticed that. Like I said, we didn't have this meeting.
Yeah. That's why there were no minutes or anything.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, remember, I was here and I said about going to the meeting, you said, well, didn't you get the notice that it was canceled?
Yep.
I got it, but I hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah, I remember that now, you're right.
It's like, thanks for the reminder.
Okay, we did have a, report from Brad, a very, very lengthy report, but the, front page sort of summarizes it, but if you wanna see what equipment went where and how many people were on each piece of equipment and a whole bunch of other stuff, it's all in this packet. I don't know if there's anything you wanna highlight, Todd, I think it's,
No.
I asked him one time why he goes so far. He said they're in swift water rescue. They got, if there's someplace that, you know, they gotta get somebody that's in a flood or something like that, they go and swift water rescue.
what is a what was that one I asked, the high angle rescue?
I don't know.
They went all the way to, Strinestown for one of those.
Maybe one of those warehouses up there.
Well, I don't know what high angle is, cause they
They
don't
don't have a ladder.
Yeah.
I have no idea
What
what.
are they rappelling? Like, what do you?
I don't know, we'll have to ask,
We'll have to ask Brad.
we'll have to ask.
He must be at the borough meeting, since they're all meeting at the same time.
Yeah. You have the, tax distribution, Todd, I don't know if there's anything you wanna,
Not really. What this is, the majority of the funds come in the first half of the year. So this is what we had in the accounts since June 1st through December 31st. Of course, Glen Rock, they got their full 40,000 up front. Rose EMS got an additional $15,305. So you can see the totals that they received for 24. Glen Rock EMS was 40,000 and Rose EMS was $148,919. And then on the fire side, Glen Rock received an additional $884. Shrewsbury Fire Company, actually, they got a check for $42.44, but they also get an additional credit next year of $4,500. And the reason being is Rose Fire Company is in the negative, and the reason being is if you look under workers' compensation, that typically hovers around 5,000. But New Freedom invoiced the township for 2 years worth of workers' comp instead of the typical 1 year.
Strange.
So, anyway, so we had to take 2 years worth out of that, which put it in the negative. So that's why you see a negative number. It's not, we won't ask them for that back. We would just adjust their disbursement next year. So, any questions on that? And again, I have the totals down there.
Did Springfield or Codorus ever decide they were gonna help with EMS in Glen Rock?
I don't know about, I don't think with EMS, talking to Ed Bailey,
Yeah.
I don't think, neither one did anything for EMS that I'm aware of. Let me think here. Might be getting that confused with fire.
Springfield or one of them was still not paying up to what we felt they should, but they upped what they were contributing. Cause they were only doing around 3,000.
Yeah, let me back up. Codorus did not do anything different. Springfield did increase their fire EMS tax. So they were getting around 3,000 or so from
Right.
Springfield in the past. And with this new tax increase, they were anticipated to give them around 30,000. But that's still
About half.
roughly 30,000 less than what
Yeah, it was
they
about
really
half of what,
So
they
at
should
least
be given.
it's more, than what they've received. Yeah, I was thinking of fire, but.
so we've basically taken, and I think Ed Bailey understands that unless everybody else steps up to give what they should, we're gonna stay where we are.
Yeah, I did talk to Ed last year,
Yeah.
after it passed, and explained it to him, and he understood. You know, I said, you know,
Right
the
now, it
current
looks-
board is ready to act, but, you know,
Pretty inactive group down there these days anyway,
Yeah.
from what you see, they're just don't have the
It's like
people,
one
the
family.
volunteers, yeah. For the EMS side. Nothing on emergency management, you have the planning, zoning, and hearing board notes there. Is this the first meeting we had since we had the last short-term rental meeting?
no, you reported the last month.
Right, so
Yeah,
we're,
so we haven't had anything.
right, we
set.
have to schedule another meeting.
Correct.
Okay, so nothing there. And we haven't done anything on the sewer committee, but Todd is, I think, aggressively trying to see if there are some dribs and drabs left out there from current holders who aren't using them. And you have my comments there. The one thing I would note is that our amendment for zoning from the RRR to SRR was reviewed. Approval was recommended by both groups there, and I think we got final, you may have that later in the packet, do you?
Yeah, that's actually old business, but that's
Okay.
fine, you can read right into that.
Yeah, that's right, you do. Well, I'll give the other. I also noted here that the Coalition on Homeless gave a presentation, and I caught the person before the presentation and asked about the couple that was at the Walmart parking lot for quite some time. I said, yep, we know all about them. We've been out there, we've talked to them. We've made them offers of places they can stay, but they do not want to leave the Shrewsbury area, and they would have to go to like York to get shelter. So shelter's available. Now, they have not been there for about 3 weeks. I hope that's a good sign. But shelter is available, but they don't want to leave Shrewsbury. So, and there are no
I
shelters.
saw them there about a week ago.
Did you?
Yeah, they had a sign out on the top of their car too, like, you know,
I s-
homeless,
I
make
just seen them,
contributions.
I just seen them there on Thursday.
Okay. So, but they do at least have a place to go if they so chose. It is their.
It's funny that they're so stubborn that they don't wanna go like to York or something.
Well, I know they have a dog, and somebody brings that dog out to them almost every day, I think. So I don't know if that, and shelters do not allow pets.
Yeah,
So I don't know if that's part of it, or, but I was at least impressed, because I know Todd had tried to connect them, that they'd been out, they had a field outreach team, they came out, they met with them, they
that's
talked to
good to
them,
know,
they
yeah.
gave them options, so I feel a little better, at least somebody tried to address it and
Yeah.
help them. So I just wanted to, point that out. Anything from anybody else on the board, comments?
Your, meeting, with the library,
Yep, I think we're gonna segue
All
right
right.
into that.
that's wonderful news.
Yeah, it's a struggle when you sit down there and listen to everything that the board has been through and what they wanna do, because essentially what they wanna do, once, if any of this gone through, they wanna close, 2 libraries, Stewartstown, and what else is around there? And basically just have Paul Smith with reduced hours, and
Doesn't make sense.
nope, doesn't make sense at all, so,
And take over the property.
I was surprised, Andy, with New Freedom, he's done, quite a bit of work, and so has Buck, our nemesis at Shrewsbury. They appointed him to be their lead person on that, and he has done a lot of work. So,
Yeah.
at least it's getting attention, it's headed in the right direction, we'll see where it goes, but it's, I think it's all about money. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think eventually what they'd like to do is sell the building harder to do because it's leased, they don't own the land, but at any rate, the long report's there, I was there, so if anybody has any questions in the future they wanna relay to me, feel free to do that. And the other thing was the rezoning, Todd, you got the letter, so,
Yeah, the only thing I'll comment on that is, that your county planning commission reviewed the rezoning request that we submitted to them, for Strawberry Road. They did not have any comments or edits or anything, and they recommended that the township.
and by the way, that's really rare. They
Yeah.
almost always have edits or comments, so.
Yeah. So, what I'll do at this point in time is I'll at least make that information available to the Miller family,
Okay.
so that they're aware that,
You're just gonna tell them,
yeah, I'm just gonna tell them.
yeah, rather than send them.
Yeah, I'm just gonna send them an email like.
Right,
they
okay.
email
That makes
them,
sense.
And,
And I don't know where they are because they were gonna go back and wanted to have further discussion with the
yeah, I don't know
developer.
if they've reached out to New Freedom or not.
Yeah, they were gonna see if they could work with New Freedom to get EDUs, so good luck. That was their whole, I guess that came up at our last meeting, that was their whole gist, is that they wanted to talk about is how do they get EDUs?
Prayer,
Yeah, it's probably
I mean,
might
at
work
this
as good.
point,
Yep,
until we can get any type of movement from an actual authority.
yep. All right, we have I guess, this comprehensive plan grant funding, I think what we're doing is just, approving an extension in time.
Correct. Yeah, this is for the comp plan, which, the agreement ran out December 31st of '24. And this would just be approving the extension of that grant contract to December 31 of '25.
So we would need a motion to do that.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second that would extend, the current grant by another year.
And who needs to sign this by February?
What's that,
Something by February 17th.
oh, that's the date of the original agreement.
Never mind.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Questions? You have a second, right?
Yeah, Jeff got me.
There we go. Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative, that's been approved. And, I guess, Penn
Standard.
Waste, we have 6 months left on that contract, right?
Yeah, our 3-year contract expires, June 30th of this year. There are 2 options. Option 1 is to extend 1 year, and option 2 is to extend the 2nd year. But both parties have to agree to that extension, so I don't know where they feel, I don't know where the board feels. Or else we have to, go out for bid again. But, we don't have to do anything right now. What I'll do is I'll put a copy of the contract in your packet just for you to look at. Again, we won't have to do anything in February, but here by March, we'll wanna decide whether we want to pursue and talk to them about whether they're gonna extend the contract a year or 2 at their set prices.
So it hasn't gone up,
Well, the only,
outside of what the agreed upon rate increase is
right,
per
with
year.
the,
Notice you never see that one go
Considering-
down, it always goes up.
And part of that is the tipping fee keeps going up.
right.
What
Yeah.
they have to pay.
So they have to offset that, that's understandable, but still, it's,
I don't think any of us would look forward to a change, and it takes about a year to get through that change or longer.
Yeah.
What,
make sure they're hitting all the right neighborhoods. I'm just reminded of that time when we had the bid in the, area here, and then the one that lost wanted to rebid.
yeah, I remember. Well, yeah,
I don't remember which one. I think it was Penn Waste. I think it's when we went with Republic, and Republic beat them.
yeah,
And Penn Waste wanted to rebid because he knew what they were going to offer then.
that just doesn't happen, does it?
Pretty good business strategy.
What's that?
Pretty good business strategy.
If you can get people to go along with it.
work.
Stormwater management,
Yep, we have four.
standard agreement?
These are, we have four, they're all our standard. One of these is the Hillwood Warehouse.
And that agreement is standard language, it's the form agreement,
Right.
it's nothing.
But it does hold them accountable.
Right, and Hillwood will do one as well, they can either do it now or do it when they get their permit for the.
Oh, is
building.
this is
Yeah,
not-
this is Shrewsbury
Okay,
Industrial.
right, this is Kinsley,
Yeah.
okay.
Make a motion to approve, the four stormwater operation and maintenance agreements, 3081 Stelz Road, 15101 Elm Drive, 17790 Susquehanna Trail South, and Windy Hill Road Climber? That's the
Yes, it
new
is.
home, doesn't have an address yet, I believe?
Yeah,
Alright,
yeah, you didn't, it's an empty lot, so it doesn't have a street number.
alright.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second that would approve four stormwater agreements. Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative, that's approved. We have a lot of correspondence. If you have any questions, there is some demographics on senior housing profile specific to Shrewsbury Township. Because we had another 96.5 acres of farmland preserved, Maple Spring Farms Partnership. And I don't think, I think I can safely say we don't have any public comment.
Can I go back, I'm sorry, I missed who made the second on the stormwater agreements.
Me.
Yeah,
Jeff,
I thought it was Jeff.
Thank you.
This looks like something we could put our linear footage of sidewalks onto, if we ever wanted to advertise it.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I understand what he was saying. But
Yeah.
It's really out of context. But, at any rate,
Gotta be honest though, country boys never really thought about how much sidewalks there's available
well,
in town, but that's just, yeah.
I never thought about, crossing the road from Shrewsbury Commons to
It's a good point.
Messina
Messina
High.
High, yeah.
Well, but they did. Paul
Yeah.
told me they did not want people crossing that road.
Mhm.
Because why didn't you guys put a walk, don't walk or something there? You would have, they pay for it, because people do it. You know, I mean, there are people who cross from one to the other, and why would you if your car's parked? I mean, you just, but it's not the safest thing to do. But.
Yeah.
All right, anything else for the good of the group? Or
Motion to adjourn.
motion?
Second.
All right, we are adjourned.